Hey guys, Barrett here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about cross-court dinking, how to get better at cross-court dinking. We're going to do some strategy things and then some technique things. I think this is really going to help. Stay tuned. The first thing we're going to start with here is backhand cross-court dinking. So let's talk about strategy first and foremost here. So the whole point of cross-court dinking, it's the safest kind of dinking, and it's the kind of dinking that you're going to do the most. The whole point is to eventually get the setup by messing up your opponent. You do that by moving them around, okay? An easy way to start with cross-court dinking is to hit towards the sideline and then hit towards the center line. And basically just rotate in between those two things. They're having to go back and forth. As long as they're not getting good dinks on you, you can keep doing that. That will cause a pop-up and then you smash for the win. That's generally how it works. So when you're dinking back and forth here, you want to focus on hitting shots towards the sideline and then hitting shots kind of up the middle almost, like this. And what that will do is it will spread your opponent thin like that. You see how much she's having to work to get the ball? That's a perfect example of how that works, okay? So the thing is though, and this is the first big technique tip, are dink volleys. Dink volleys are so important. Notice how I was volleying a lot of those out of the air, okay? The key to this is the squat, okay? You have to squat down, reach out, and lightly nudge the ball. You have to get used to doing that. It is absolutely essential. If I were to wait for those shots to bounce, not only am I the one now backing up and being more defensive, but I'm allowing her to readjust and get back into her neutral position. And that's not what you want to do. So that's the basic strategy of this stuff and sort of technique with the dink volleys. In terms of your actual dinks themselves, you want to start to try to get spin on these shots. When you hit a dink that kind of just pops up and lands in the kitchen and doesn't have any spin on it, that's what we call a dead dink. And basically what that means is just kind of a neutral ball that doesn't have any spin on it, and it gives them time to actually do something with it, right? Don't want to give them any time. So what we're going to focus on is doing a backhand sort of slice kind of motion. And the way that you can think about this is to pretend like your face here is a mirror. And as the ball is coming over, you're constantly pointing the mirror back at the ball. Like it's almost like you're giving the ball a haircut and you want to show them, hey, look, here's what your haircut looks like. So as the ball is coming towards me, I want to try to keep that face pointed directly towards the ball. It's going to open up. Your face is going to open up a little bit, okay? But you don't want it opening up all the way like this. That is too much, because the more you open, the more you shut. And in pickleball, you don't have that kind of time. So let's try that. I'm going to use a nice little continental grip here. All right. Now your face is going to open up a little bit. I want to try to keep it pointed towards the ball as it's coming over. And the shot, the feeling of it is incredible. The thing is that you don't have to slice down on it. You don't have to jab at it or anything like that. That motion will cause plenty of backspin just on its own. And again, your face is going to open up a little bit like that. You see that little, how it opened up like that? Point towards the ball. Nice. So much fun. Try that. Try pointing the ball or the face directly at the ball when you're doing these dinks. It's awesome. It's so much fun. I think it's really going to help. Let's move on to the forehand. The same strategy applies for cross-court dinking. Try to stretch your opponent out. Same thing, but this time with the forehand, we're going to be focusing on a slice, but in a different way. So this way is the face is more open with your forehand, which means my grip can kind of rotate to the left just a smidge, just an absolute smidge. And basically what you're doing is you're pretending like this paddle is sort of leaning up against your wall on the floor. You know how you can create kind of like a 45-degree ramp and you kind of like nudge it against the wall, and you're letting the ball hit the paddle and then slightly bounce up. All you're doing is introducing the paddle to the ball straight forward. You're not slicing down on it. You can't have very much acceleration with these shots. Too much acceleration is going to cause the pop up. Okay, this will cause us a nice slice. Every now and then you're going to get short hops like what you're seeing here. There's a dink volley. There's the slice. See how I just kind of push it directly forward? That's all I'm doing. Just kind of cutting underneath the ball. Like that. Okay, that's how it works. So again, it's not a slicing motion. I'm just pushing the paddle lightly through the ball. Because the face is open, that's going to give you plenty of trajectory to get the ball over, okay? If I were to put any more on this shot, it would be a pop-up, so you really have to be careful of that. Now, the next thing you can do, and by far the most advanced version of the forehand cross-court dink, is the topspin version of it, okay? This is hard. Now look, I don't have a tennis background. I don't have any racket sport background. So I had to spend hours and hours and hours of time learning this shot. If you don't have a racket sport background, especially a tennis background, this is going to take some time. So be patient with yourself as you're learning this, okay? So the trick to doing this shot is to come straight up with your arm, okay? The ball's coming over, and we're gonna come straight up, all right? No backswing. There shouldn't be any backswing at all. We're gonna come up, and you're sort of pretending like you're lifting something up with your bicep. There's gonna be a little bit of an elbow going here, but mostly it's kind of just the whole arm coming straight up. And what will happen when you try this for the first time is you'll most likely miss hit on the very bottom of the paddle because you're not used to brushing up on the ball. So try to almost feel like you're going to be hitting it on the top of the paddle, and that'll even things out. Okay, so here we go. See how I come straight up? It's a very relaxed motion, and really there's no forcing it. You know, I'm not trying to jerk the paddle or yank it very quickly. It's a nice, smooth motion. I get my feet in place and then come up. One thing that can help a little bit, if you're right-handed, to rotate your grip slightly to the right. This will help to close the face down ever so slightly. You don't want it totally shut, okay, like this, but just a slight nudge to the left can kind of help to keep that ball down a smidge. There we go. Now, one thing you'll notice is I have a very exaggerated follow through. That comes from golf. That's my golf years coming through. You really don't have to do that, okay? So again, you're gonna have to practice this technique. The forehand topspin dink is really hard. I mean, as we were recording this, I made a handful of mistakes doing this shot. It's tough. So if you don't have that tennis background, again, you're gonna have to really work on it. Sit there, notice where you're hitting the ball on the face. That's my best advice for you with this shot. Are you hitting it low? Are you hitting it high? What's going on with that? If you're hitting it low, you need to feel like you're gonna hit it high on the face. If you're hitting it high in the face, you need to feel like you're hitting it low, and so on. That's gonna help to balance that out. But guys, that is cross-court dinking. Remember, feet first, swing later. Work on that footwork. Try to get in, remember some of that strategy stuff, and then you can do the technique and the fancy spin and stuff like that. Guys, I hope that was helpful. Feel free to go to pickleballkitchen.com, Got a bunch more stuff on there. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.